Hi there, everybody, and welcome to another Facebook Live Monday. I am so excited to be with you here today, as I am excited always. So welcome. I don't remember if I had this little plant in the background last week, but I have gotten a new baby for the house, and I absolutely love him. He is a Pilea peperomita, and just hanging out. One of the cool plants that I learned about and found actually in the Airbnb where I was staying in Seattle when I took a break in April of this year from doing the podcast, and I liked it so much I found my own at a garden center here in Chicago. So cool stuff. Today we're going to be talking about happiness and feeling happy, feeling joy, feeling delight, feeling uplifted after loss. And this is a tricky topic because there's a lot of emotions that come with it that don't come with happiness before you experience loss. Like before you experience loss, when you're happy, you're just happy. And you kind of just, that's the only emotion you're feeling. You might be feeling other things along with it, like nostalgia and joy and delight and wonder and enchantment and all these things, but they're all kind of within the realm of happy. And after loss, happiness can bring up a lot of other emotions like anxiety, like guilt for feeling happy at all. Maybe disturbance in your world that this is an emotion you can feel. Maybe a faux happiness, like this is a fake happiness, this isn't real, this is going to last. So maybe like a fear paired in there as well. So that's what we're going to get into today. And I'm really excited because I have started to feel some kind of deep, thrumming, like resonating joy in my world, and feeling these things in the aftermath of my mom's loss having happened almost 5 years ago. It's interesting to feel what this feels like, happiness on a regular basis, again, and to have it feel different than it used to. But before we get into that, I do want to let you know that I talked to Bereavement Cruise coordinator Linda Findley earlier this week, and she confirmed with me that now 7 of you are going on the Bereavement Cruise with me in March of 2019. And if you have not signed up to attend the Bereavement Cruise yet, if it's something that's speaking to you, sitting on your heart, spaces and staterooms are filling up. So if you would like to get on the cruise with us, go to www.comingbackcruise.com. That's the name of the podcast, Coming Back, and then cruise, like a cruise ship.com, and fill out the form there, and the cruise directors will be in contact with you about pricing, about the workshops that are going to be happening on the boat, and then of course the dates and the locations that we're sailing to, which is very, very exciting. I'm not sure if we're at the 6-month mark yet for counting down, but we're definitely getting there. I think that'll be September when the 6-month mark hits us. Yes, looking at my calendar, I believe that to be the case, but it's very exciting that 7 of you now are going to be on the boat with me, and I hope to do kind of like a little Coming Back podcast meetup just for listeners of the show that are coming on board too, which would be really cool to do, like a breakfast or like a dinner or something like that together. So very excited to see you. So on the subject of happiness today, I spoke on the podcast this week about the fact that I have been feeling some deep peace in my life lately. I've been waking up feeling truly happy, and I'm a human who was born into this world more or less like singing to herself. Before I could talk, one of my favorite stories that my mom used to tell about me is that before I could speak, I would wake up really early in the morning as an infant and just sit in my crib and just sing to myself or talk to myself or just, compose these little melodies until somebody came and got me. So I was never, wailing for somebody to wake up, no crying, no throwing things against the side of the crib, but just this inherent happiness, this joy to be alive. And that's something that I feel describes me so well. And I feel like I almost lost touch. I did lose touch with that identity after the death of my mom. And lately there's been a bit of that coming back. I wake up in the morning and I get chills because I wake up and I am overwhelmed with joy for the fact that I am alive and in this world. And it's not necessarily that nothing bad is happening, because bad and stressful things are always happening in the world at large and in my world as well. And it's just been really fascinating to me to sit back and observe this emotion, this undercurrent of joy, peace, happiness, just this general excitement and this enchantment for being alive in the world. And it's such a contrast to where I was in the immediate aftermath of my loss of my mom, because that just sunk me way, way down. And I didn't think, here's the thing, is that I didn't think an emotion like this, a deep-rooted contentment and peace like this was possible. I didn't think it was going to ever be a reality. And let me kind of clarify this by going even further and saying the happiness that I felt before I lost my mom no longer exists. I am no longer able to tap into that. But what I am tapping into now, and what I talked about on the podcast this week, is this deep-rooted happiness that also has mixed into it the fact that I know that I'm grieving. The fact that I know that grief is involved in my life, the fact that I know all the things I'm looking at right now I'm going to lose, the fact that I know that I am going to die one day as well. And so it's like a happiness that's round and inclusive of grief. And this kind of throws back to another podcast that I did where grief is ever present. There's always 1%, 5%, 10%, 90% grief occupying our brains, where we never really go anywhere, do anything, say anything without elements of our grief involved. It's stuck in here forever. Once grief happens, you can't undo it. You can't reverse that process. So to be experiencing joy now, but also with grief involved, with grief playing a part, is a totally different kind of happiness. It's a different brand of happiness, if you will, than the type of happiness, the type of joy, almost blind happiness, blind joy, I don't want to say unpolluted, but it was a clear, pure, untainted by grief joy that I felt before my mom's loss. And now there's a happiness that's almost at a bedrock, like a foundational level of happiness that's going deeper than that surface happiness, because it is happiness inclusive of all this grief and all this loss. And so I wake up and I am genuinely happy to be alive. And it's not that I haven't felt this way before, but the overwhelmingness of it has been really sneaking up on me. And last week I was like, oh my God, like I am in a space where I truly love the life that I've created for myself. And part of this is devoted to hard work. I have done the work of grieving. I am continuing to do the work of grieving. I'm talking about the work of grieving. People ask why I'm so happy, and I'm like, it's because I talk about the hard shit all the time. And part of it is because I'm continuing to do things I love. I'm in a job that I love. It's not a toxic environment. I am doing multiple things I love with my passion projects, with grief and with floral design both. Other just passion projects I love. I'm taking care of my body by going running, by generally eating the right foods, right things. I'm getting a decent amount of sleep. So it's this huge concoction that creates happiness or a general state of well-being. But it's just funny to me to be experiencing it at this level and to have it be so inclusive and so much more deep than happiness that I knew before. So it isn't the happiness that I recognized I would never get back after I lost my mom. It isn't that level of joy. In fact, it's something deeper, and because of that, it's more meaningful. But I kind of want to get into some like normal human responses to feeling happy in the midst of grief. The first one that always comes up for me is, how long is this going to last? Because having experienced grief the way that I did, and having my mom's death be so sudden and so unexpected, she was diagnosed and then died within a month, I'm almost like, when is the other shoe going to drop? When is whatever's coming up here, when is whatever I'm seeing in my day-to-day going to dissolve and end? And so there's that small fear always with this type of happiness. So this happiness is also inclusive of the fear of it ending. Other things that come up when people feel joy, happiness, delight, enchantment, wonder after loss is, I should feel guilty about this. I'm not allowed to feel this. And one of my grief growers posted in the Grief Growers Garden about, I've got all these trips coming up. I'm going to multiple countries. This is a grief grower that's also coming with us on the bereavement cruise. And she's like, it's weird to feel happy about having all these things to look forward to and feeling like I almost can't because my dad's not here. And it's interesting because this is such a normal reaction to grief, to be like, why should I be allowed to feel joy if a person that I was so close to, a person that I shared everything with, is no longer present in my life? Shouldn't those two things cancel each other out? And the answer, strangely but normally, is no. You are allowed to be happy and to also be grieving. I talk about grief often as this dichotomy of holding two realities in the same hand, or the same one in each hand, and never being allowed to let either of them fall. And so you're always holding grief and you're always holding happiness, searing joy and delight. And you may feel more one than the other on certain days, but once you experience grief for the first time, you're never really allowed to let either of them fall. You walk forward constantly with these two realities in each hand. And so she expressed a bit of that. And the last thing that can come up when you're experiencing happiness after loss is anxiety. And this is different from fear and different from grief, but it's also just an anxiousness almost like, am I crazy? Am I crazy for feeling happiness, for feeling delight, for feeling joy? Is there something wrong with me? Shouldn't I be grieving forever? Shouldn't, my life be awful forever? And or is this happiness even real? Or is this something I'm manufacturing? So I just want to bring some visibility and some normalcy to the concept of feeling happy after loss, because I said on the podcast, and this is what gives me chills, this type of happiness that we experience after loss, this happiness that is inclusive of our grief and seeing of all the people that we've lost, and even almost memorializing as we're going forward and feeling joy, these people that we've lost in our lives, this specific brand of happiness, it's not a flippant joy, it's not an innocent joy like the joy that children feel, it's not a blind joy like the joy we often feel before we lose somebody and then we have all this knowledge and we can never experience that level of pureness or innocent joy ever again, but this happiness that's inclusive of all of these things that we've gone through, that we've endured, is a specific brand of happiness that is only reserved for the people who have grieved. This is only for us. This level of happiness, this deep bedrock undercurrent of joy that we feel, this gratitude to be alive. So many grief circles talk about gratitude, and you don't really understand it until you're here and feeling this level of happiness, this level of, I am so happy to be alive. This is reserved for those of us who have grieved. And one of my podcast guests, I believe it was Maureen McGoran, said that sirens are an indicator of a divine message. And I don't know if you can hear the sirens outside my window right now, but they are going off like crazy. So hopefully this is a divine message that's resonating with you today, is that happiness, joy after loss is not there's something wrong with you, is not something else bad is going to happen. Now that I'm happy again, something bad's going to happen, and it's not you're going crazy. It is you are finding out how to be happy again, inclusive of your grief, inclusive of your loss, inclusive of all the other garbage you're probably still going through. It makes total sense, and it's okay. It's okay to be feeling. It's okay to be embracing. I wake up in the morning and I shake my head because I'm like, it's so cool to be living this life. I never thought I would be here. I would never have chosen this for myself. We don't choose this type of happiness for ourselves, grief growers. But the fact that we have it, the fact that we are experiencing it, means that it is something that is just reserved for us, for those of us who have grieved. So I want to know how feeling happiness for the first time, feeling happiness again and again and again after your loss is affecting you in your grief. How is happiness, the emotion of joy, resonating with you? What else comes with it? Is probably a really great way to answer that question. So comment below, share this with people who would love to hear this message, people who are maybe feeling nervous or anxious or guilty or mournful about feeling happy again after loss like they have no right to. You absolutely have a right to. This is reserved for us. That's just the phrase that keeps coming to me over and over and over again, is this type of joy is reserved for us. So loved seeing you. If you're interested in coming on the bereavement cruise with me in March of 2019, spaces are filling up. So go to www.comingbackcruise.com and fill out the form there. This is not I'm going ahead and signing up. This is just a request for more information. So if that resonates with you, come along with. And then, of course, I posted a link in the comments below as well to last week's podcast where you can hear a lot more about what it's like to be happy in the aftermath of loss and giving ourselves permission to feel that in the aftermath of loss. Also a super cool interview with Michelle Neff Hernandez, who founded Soaring Spirits International, and she is one heck of a cool lady. So sending love always. Shelly says, thanks for this, Shelby. I'll share my input in the garden. Looking forward to seeing you in the Grief Growers Garden. If for some reason you're not a member of my private Facebook group yet, would absolutely love to have you, and that is just the Grief Growers Garden. I like alliteration, apparently. Yes, share your feedback with us. You don't have to share it publicly here. Share it in this private group that's been curated with people who have space to hold your heart. I would love to see you there. I see you, grief growers. I am proud of you and the work that you're doing in the world. And I love you. Because even through grief, we are